My beloved child. Today is not an ordinary day. Something is moving toward you with silent footsteps, something that has been waiting for the exact right moment to reveal itself. You felt it when you woke up. That strange heaviness in the air. That pause before your thoughts fully formed. This is the moment when hidden timelines begin to overlap. What you are about to hear is not random, and it is not coincidence. A message has been traveling toward you through delays, misunderstandings, and quiet resistance. It survived doubt. It survived denial. And now, it stands right in front of you. This news was never meant to arrive early. It was designed to arrive today, when you are strong enough to handle it, yet still curious enough to listen. Pay attention to every word, because nothing here is accidental, and nothing here is small. There has been a conversation about you that you were never invited into. Not because you were unimportant, but because your reaction mattered too much. Decisions were postponed. Truths were wrapped in polite silence. People chose comfort over clarity, thinking time would erase the impact. They were wrong. Time did not erase anything. It sharpened it. What is coming today carries the weight of choices made behind closed doors and promises that were delayed, not broken. You were protected from this not to keep you weak, but to let you grow. And now, the shield is being lifted. When this news lands, it will connect dots you stopped trying to connect long ago. Moments that felt confusing will suddenly feel precise. The shock will not come from surprise alone, but from recognition. You may think shocking news always arrives loudly, but this one arrives with unsettling calm. It does not scream. It does not rush. It simply stands there and waits for you to notice how everything around it changes shape. Someone underestimated how aware you have become. Someone assumed you would never question the pattern. But you did. Quietly. Patiently. You sensed the imbalance when reactions did not match words, when timing felt slightly off, when explanations felt complete yet incomplete. This is where those instincts finally get their answer. Today is not about fear. It is about clarity. And clarity, once it arrives, cannot be returned unopened. What makes this revelation rare is not what it says, but when it chooses to speak. It arrives at a point where ignoring it would cost more than accepting it. You are standing at the edge of an internal shift, the kind that changes how you interpret past loyalty, past delays, and past silence. Someone believed you would stay in the version of yourself that was easier to manage. They did not account for growth. They did not account for awareness. This news is not here to destroy anything. It is here to rearrange the truth so it finally makes sense. And once it does, you will realize how much power you were already holding without knowing it. So stay with this moment. Do not rush ahead in your mind. Do not soften the impact before it arrives. Shocking news does not always mean chaos. Sometimes it means alignment. Sometimes it means the end of confusion disguised as peace. What is coming today will not ask for your permission. It will simply reveal itself, calmly and completely. And once you see it, you will understand why it could not have come yesterday, and why it could not wait until tomorrow. Listen carefully now. What unfolds next was never meant to be explained in one breath, because understanding it requires you to feel it before you analyze it. The moment this news begins to surface, you may notice a quiet resistance inside yourself, a reflex to stay comfortable with what you already know. That resistance is natural. It exists because the truth arriving today does not fit neatly into the story you were told. It stretches it. It exposes the missing chapters. For a long time, you were guided to look in one direction while the real movement happened somewhere else. Not to deceive you, but to control the timing. And timing, more than intention, is what gives this revelation its power. Behind the scenes, there were signals that did not reach you in full form. Messages softened. Reactions delayed. Opportunities redirected. You felt the results but never saw the source. That is why some moments felt undeserved, while others felt strangely postponed. Today, those distortions begin to straighten out. You will realize that certain outcomes were never about your ability or your worth. They were about preparation. Someone believed that if you knew too early, you might act before the foundation was ready. They underestimated your patience, but they understood your potential. This is why the news arriving today feels both shocking and inevitable at the same time. There is a reason this revelation chooses calm instead of drama. Loud truths fade quickly, but quiet truths settle deeply. Once this information reaches you fully, it will not push you into sudden action. Instead, it will change how you stand still. You will see past events rearrange themselves in your memory, not as mistakes, but as positioning. Conversations you replayed in your head will suddenly sound different. Silences you once blamed yourself for will reveal their true purpose. This is not about assigning blame. It is about reclaiming perspective. And perspective, once regained, becomes strength. What makes this moment rare is that it arrives when you are no longer seeking approval. Earlier versions of you might have misunderstood this news as rejection or delay. That version is gone. Today, you are capable of seeing structure where you once saw confusion. You can recognize restraint without interpreting it as absence. The people involved assumed this shift would take longer. They did not realize how quietly you were evolving. That is why today feels sudden to them, but perfectly timed to you. This is not coincidence. This is alignment catching up with awareness. As this part settles in, do not rush to label what you feel. Shock does not always mean disbelief. Sometimes it is the mind adjusting to accuracy. Let the truth sit without forcing a reaction. The full shape of this news is still forming, and its next layer will reveal why everything had to unfold exactly this way. What comes next will not contradict what you know. It will complete it. And once that completion happens, the path ahead will look clearer than it ever has before. Before your mind tries to rush ahead, pause here. The next layer of this story is not about what happened, but about why it was allowed to happen the way it did. You were standing closer to the truth than you realized, yet just far enough to doubt yourself. That distance was intentional. It created tension. It created growth. It created awareness without explanation. Today, that distance disappears. And when it does, you will notice how sharp your perception has already become. This is not new information entering your life. This is hidden confirmation arriving at the exact second you are ready to trust yourself completely. There was a shift that occurred long before today, one you felt but could not name. A moment when things stopped flowing the way they used to. Progress slowed. Responses changed. Energy felt different. You questioned yourself, wondering if you had misread the situation. You had not. The environment around you was adjusting to a future version of you that had not fully arrived yet. That is the part no one explained. Instead of updating you, they adjusted everything else. This news reveals that the pause you experienced was not rejection, not neglect, and not failure. It was containment. And containment always precedes expansion. What makes this revelation unsettling is its simplicity. There is no dramatic twist, no sudden villain, no single moment to point at. The shock comes from realizing how many times you were closer than you thought, and how often your instincts were correct. The truth does not accuse. It clarifies. It shows you how patience was mistaken for passivity, and how silence was confused with absence. Someone believed that if they stayed quiet long enough, the moment would pass. They did not realize moments like this do not pass. They wait. And today, it is done waiting. As this understanding settles, you may feel a strange calm replace the tension you carried for so long. That calm is not relief. It is recognition. You are seeing the full structure now, not just the surface. The delays. The redirections. The unexplained stops. All of it forms a pattern that only makes sense from this angle. This is why the news feels heavy but steady. It does not shake your ground. It stabilizes it. And once stability returns, your next move becomes obvious without being forced. Do not rush to share this realization with anyone. This part is for you alone. Let it reshape how you see your past and how you position your future. The shock is not meant to stun you. It is meant to wake you. What comes next will test how deeply you understand what you have just discovered. And that test is already approaching, quietly, confidently, and without hesitation. Now the weight of it becomes undeniable. This is the point where the truth stops being abstract and starts becoming personal. Not emotional chaos, but personal responsibility. You are realizing that this news is not only about what others did or did not do. It is also about what you were becoming while everything unfolded silently. The waiting shaped you. The uncertainty refined you. The lack of answers forced you to develop discernment instead of dependency. This is why the revelation feels sharp yet controlled. It is not breaking you open. It is revealing how solid you already are. There were moments when the path in front of you looked clear, yet something unseen kept redirecting you. You thought it was hesitation. You thought it was bad timing. You even questioned your discipline. But the truth is simpler and harder to accept. Certain doors could not open until you stopped seeking validation from them. The delay was not punishment. It was calibration. And today, that calibration reaches its final stage. The news arriving now proves that you were never behind. You were being positioned exactly where influence replaces urgency. What makes this stage uncomfortable is that it removes excuses. Once clarity arrives, confusion can no longer be blamed. You can no longer tell yourself that you did not know enough or see enough. You did. You just did not trust it fully yet. That changes now. This part of the revelation quietly hands control back to you, without drama, without announcement. It does not tell you what to do next. It simply removes the fog so you can no longer pretend you do not see the road. Someone expected this moment to overwhelm you. They believed the truth would feel too heavy, too complex, too destabilizing. They miscalculated. Growth has a way of preparing the nervous system before the mind catches up. That is why you are steady now. You are not rushing to react. You are observing. You are integrating. This calm is not indifference. It is mastery over impulse. And that mastery is exactly what makes what comes next possible. Stay present with this understanding. The shocking part is no longer the news itself, but how naturally you are receiving it. That is the signal that the transformation is already underway. The next layer will not add confusion. It will add consequence. And once consequence enters the picture, everything you choose from this point forward will carry a clarity you have never experienced before. This is where the silence finally explains itself. What you are beginning to understand now is that nothing was hidden to erase you, but to observe you. While you believed you were waiting, something else was measuring consistency, restraint, and depth. Reactions were watched. Patterns were noted. Not to judge, but to verify. Today's news confirms that you passed through a phase few people ever notice, the phase where character is revealed without an audience. That is why this moment feels earned rather than shocking. You were never excluded from the truth. You were being prepared to carry it without distortion. There is a subtle shift happening inside you as this settles. The urge to explain yourself is fading. The need to be understood is softening. That is not emotional distance. That is clarity replacing noise. You are realizing that many things you once tried to fix did not need fixing. They needed time to expose their true shape. This revelation shows you that restraint protected you more than reaction ever could. The news arriving today is proof that your quiet choices mattered more than visible moves. That is a realization most people never reach. What makes this part powerful is that it changes how you interpret authority and control. You now see that influence does not always announce itself. Sometimes it waits until certainty replaces urgency. Someone assumed you would demand answers before you deserved them. You did not. Someone thought impatience would weaken you. It refined you instead. This is why the truth no longer feels threatening. It feels aligned. You are no longer chasing clarity. Clarity has arrived on its own. At this stage, the shock transforms into direction. You are not being told what to believe. You are being shown what already is. The difference matters. Instruction creates dependence. Recognition creates independence. This news gives you the second. You now see which paths were temporary distractions and which ones were intentionally delayed. That awareness quietly eliminates confusion without creating conflict. You are not here to confront the past. You are here to outgrow it. Hold this moment carefully. The power of this revelation is not in sharing it or reacting to it, but in how it changes your posture moving forward. The next part will not bring more information. It will bring decision. And once decision enters, there will be no need for force, urgency, or explanation. Everything will begin to respond to you differently, because you are no longer moving from uncertainty. This is the point where understanding turns into quiet authority. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that reshapes outcomes without announcement. You are no longer reacting to the news. You are absorbing what it reveals about your position. The shocking part now is not the truth itself, but how clearly you see where you stand because of it. You are recognizing that many doors stayed closed not to block you, but to teach you how to stand without leaning on them. That lesson is complete. And once a lesson is complete, circumstances begin to change their behavior around you. There is a calm confidence forming beneath your awareness. It does not feel loud or dramatic. It feels steady. This is what happens when doubt loses its grip. You are not asking what could go wrong anymore. You are seeing what is already aligned. The news arriving today quietly confirms that your timing was never off. Your pace was intentional, even when it felt slow. Others mistook your patience for uncertainty. They now realize it was precision. This realization does not inflate your ego. It anchors your direction. You may notice that old fears no longer respond the way they used to. Thoughts that once triggered hesitation now feel distant, almost irrelevant. That is because fear depends on incomplete information. Today, that gap is closing. You are no longer guessing. You are recognizing patterns as they unfold. This is where power becomes subtle. You do not need to announce your understanding. Your decisions will communicate it for you. And those decisions will feel effortless, because they are no longer driven by pressure. What is happening now is rare. Most people receive clarity and immediately rush to act. You are different. You are allowing clarity to settle before moving. That restraint multiplies its impact. This part of the journey teaches you that action taken from alignment carries weight without resistance. The news was not meant to shock you into motion. It was meant to remove hesitation so motion becomes natural. That distinction is everything. Stay with this stillness. It is not the end. It is the threshold. The final layer will not surprise you with information. It will surprise you with outcome. What you do next will not feel forced or dramatic. It will feel obvious. And when the result begins to appear, you will understand why everything had to unfold exactly in this order, and exactly on this day. This is where everything quietly clicks into place. Not with noise, not with announcement, but with a deep internal certainty that cannot be shaken. The shocking news that began as a distant signal now completes its journey inside you. It no longer feels external. It feels integrated. You are not waiting for proof anymore, because the alignment itself is the proof. What once felt uncertain now feels settled, as if the truth has always been here and you simply grew into the ability to hold it without resistance. You now understand why this news could only arrive today. Earlier, it would have confused you. Later, it would have limited you. This moment was chosen because you are no longer defined by reaction, validation, or urgency. You are defined by awareness. The revelation did not come to change who you are. It came to confirm who you have already become. That is why the shock feels clean, not chaotic. It sharpens your focus instead of scattering it. There is a quiet shift in how the world responds to you from this point forward. Not because people suddenly change, but because your position has. You will notice fewer explanations are required. Fewer doubts appear. Fewer obstacles demand your energy. This is not luck. This is clarity creating momentum. When confusion ends, resistance loses its grip. The news did not create this shift. It revealed that the shift was already underway. What makes this ending powerful is that it does not close anything. It opens direction. You are not stepping into something unknown. You are stepping into something that has been preparing space for you all along. The past no longer pulls at you for answers. The future no longer rushes you for decisions. Everything feels timed, measured, and intentional. That balance is rare, and it is earned. Hold this final understanding without needing to announce it. Let it inform how you move, how you choose, and how you wait. The shocking news has done its work. From here, life does not need to convince you of anything. It will simply respond. And you will recognize, without doubt, that this moment was not the end of the message, but the beginning of its result. Now you stand in a space very few ever reach. A space where answers stop chasing questions. The shock that began this journey has softened into certainty, and certainty has become direction. You are no longer processing the news. You are living from it. This is where the mind stops replaying the past and starts recognizing the precision of every step that led you here. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels delayed. Everything feels exact. That exactness is not coincidence. It is the result of alignment finally becoming visible. You may notice how silence around you feels different now. It no longer feels empty or heavy. It feels intentional. Conversations change tone. Situations respond faster. Decisions feel lighter to carry. This is what happens when clarity removes internal resistance. You are not forcing outcomes. Outcomes are adjusting to you. The shocking part is realizing how much effort was once spent trying to understand what now feels obvious. This is not growth through struggle. This is growth through recognition. There is a quiet confidence in knowing that you do not need to explain your journey for it to be valid. The news did not give you permission. It gave you confirmation. That difference matters. Permission keeps people small. Confirmation sets them free. You are now operating from a place where your choices no longer need external reassurance. They are guided by internal alignment. That alignment is steady. It does not fluctuate with opinion or circumstance. What unfolds next will feel natural, almost understated. No dramatic turning point. No sudden applause. Just consistent movement in the right direction. That is how real shifts happen. The world does not announce them. It adapts to them. You will recognize progress not by noise, but by ease. Doors open without effort. Resistance dissolves without confrontation. This is the aftermath of truth arriving at the right time. Let this part settle deeply. There is nothing left to prove, nothing left to chase, nothing left to wait for. The shocking news has completed its purpose. From here, life responds to clarity with precision. And as you move forward, you will carry one unshakable understanding. This moment did not change your destiny. It revealed that you were already walking in it.